Good morning.
Bonjour.
Goedemorgen allemaal.
Moin.
Buenos días a todos.
Hi.
Hi.
Ciao a tutti.
Kalimera.
Hello everyone.
Bonjour à tous.
Bonjour.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls.
Bonjour à tous.
Sveiki visi. Gera jūs čia tiek daug matyti.
Tu jasemi stim portašu jasemi mu.
The European Union has always been about unity. The unification is achievable by finding the compromise between different groups of conflict. But not everyone agrees with that. For instance, in Latvia, there are still a lot of disputes between ethnic Latvians and the Russian-speaking minority. But I think that the younger generation is the one which can solve this.
We must vote if we really care about our future, human rights, the environment, and the way of life we live.
The most powerful force is human cooperation. We must not use it for destruction, but to build a peaceful future. To do that, we must have a lot of knowledge. Education is very important, but we still need strong and clear values. With that, our generation can achieve great things. So, we are looking forward to hearing from you and exchanging ideas with you here today. Thank you.
And have a nice day. Bye.
Yo soy, por lo tanto, me presento un eurodiputado.
I'm an MEP. I come from Spain, the whole of Spain, because there are no divisions in Spain, and I represent all Spaniards to a certain extent. I'm an independent. I don't belong to any political party. So I stood on the basis of a program, and let's say I'm a social liberal or liberal democracy. So I belonged to the Democrats and Liberals of Europe, ALDE.
Hallo, mein Name ist Keno Giesen, ich komme aus Deutschland. Meine Frage ist...
My question is, do you still believe in the UK remaining in the EU? And what is your opinion about Brexit, please?
Je pense que c'est une catastrophe.
I think it is a disaster, a catastrophe. I think it's a car crash. I think it's mainly a catastrophe for the Brits first, and particularly for the Northern Irish, but for the British as well. But I don't think it's any good for any Europeans at all. It's a disaster, a moral catastrophe, I think. It is one of ethics and moral and of thinking about the overall situation. Well, of course, we'll be less well off economically. The Brits will be much less well off economically. But history has known a lot of economic cycles. Economically, it will be a problem, particularly for the Brits, but morally as well. The first who spoke in Europe, of the United States of Europe, was Winston Churchill. He was the first person to speak of the United States of Europe. So to lose sight of that idea by a lack of solidarity through a fear of and xenophobia, free of the fear of free circulation, free movement, by the fear of loss of identity, which is often very close to racism and xenophobia. I really think that this is to kind of break up the whole thing through the anti-action of setting up a harmonious democratic union with some handover of sovereignty, but not a great deal, and with the knowledge of that we had much more to share than we have of differences. That's what I think of Brexit. But I think it probably, do you think it will take place? Yes, I suppose it will. It will take place in some way or other. In some way or other, it won't be very good. And in some way or other, people will be suffering. And of course, the poor, the bottom of the pile, will always suffer most. That's always the way it is, because economically, as well as that, we know that the economic motives which have been put forward by Nigel Farage, who is a colleague, are pure and utter lies. All this question about saving money for the NHF, it isn't 700 million, it's nothing at all, in fact. That's how democracy, for some people, that's how they operate, because no one's asking him to be accountable for the lies he peddled, and he's done a great deal of harm. Now, if we can have another referendum to go back on this, well, I think no solution is a good solution, I have to say. That would be a bad solution too, because then people would say, oh, well, democracy, nobody's respecting democracy. Well, that's the way it is. If a referendum were to say that, okay, people didn't want to leave after all. But the rest of Europe, because the British Isles will still be part of Europe, whatever they say. They may not be in the European Union, but they'll still be part of Europe. But the rest of Europe, I think, has to lay down certain conditions. I mean, if you decide to return, to come back, to go back on that, but you'd just be like Mr. X, no opting out, no one foot in and 1 foot out, no longer being semi-detached from Europe. Many sacrifices have been made for them to want to remain. They didn't want to remain. So if they leave, they'll just be the same as anyone else. That's just quite clear. Anyone who's not in the European Union.
I come from Romania, but I will express myself in Spanish. And I would like to put a question. European Union means to give the rest of the world a certain image. What do you think about the political battles, and how do they affect the European Union, and how can we resolve these problems?
Las luchas políticas internas. Hombre, las luchas políticas.
We need to respect political battles, and they must be resolved at national level because they come from the traditions of different countries, etc. And if we accept what are the fundamental values of the European Union, equality, solidarity, brotherhood, etc., and which are at the very basis of democracy as we know it, as it was created in the 20th century, political battles are fine. It doesn't undermine the fact that we are a political unit, that we have common policies in the energy field, in the defense field, we have a common currency, and all this will help us to be freer and more prosperous. And the problem of political battles is something that can be resolved within European Parliament. It's a pity, it's a shame that things rest on lies, manipulation, fake news, and it is based, these political battles are based on fear. This is what we must avoid all costs, be it on the left wing or on the in the right wing, because that will lead us to ruin, economic ruin and all type of ruin. The only antidote that I know of to all this is you young people. Whatever I may say, you will be our future. I would like it to be different. But in 20 or 30 years, you will be deciding what Europe should have and do. I can only say that I'm leaving you this platform. If young people don't fight against nationalistic movements, racist movements, populist movements, people who don't want to show solidarity, then of course we're going to lose. So things are in your hands. You have many people who didn't vote and who didn't want Brexit, but you can vote, and I hope that you will vote massively. And as I said to our German friend, there will be a Brexit, but maybe in 15 years' time, Britain will want to return in the fold. When all this hate and hatred and all these arguments that are put forward will be done away with. So I do hope that everyone will be back in the fold in the 21st century.
Hello, my name is Andrew and I'm a student from Cyprus. Europe has really focused on privacy and data protection this year. Facebook, a few weeks ago, announced that around 50 million of the user accounts have been compromised. Are you going to use this? Are you going to use Facebook to set an example for other huge companies? And what is next for privacy?
Group, the Democrat Liberals, are very keen on it. They are fighting very much. They are very sensitive to this problem of the intimity and the right to protect personal data. So I know that Mrs. Vestager, Margaret Vestager, who is the Dane Commissioner for the competence, for the free market, for the concurrence, for the respect of the law of concurrence. It's very much on Facebook and all this. She's fighting hard, but also we are fighting in the Libe area, that is the liberty. We have already produced some papers to invite the Commission to take measures. We have the Commission preparing papers, and we are still working on more demands and more severe concrete. What we have very clear is that this problem of Facebook is a universal problem for every country, but we will, and in some way it's difficult, but you know better than me, much better than me, the new technologies and how they work. But we know very well that we'll defend our rights and our liberties much better as Europe than every country alone. No? So we have to take common measures in Europe, absolutely, of trade, of protection of liberties, fundamental rights, and of competence, and we are fighting it, yes. And even if you are interested, I'm sure any one of you can send you the last the last text we have voted on it, and what is the Commission on.
Our first and maybe most important point is that we should educate people how to deal with this problem. We should start it with the basics, start it in the kindergarten and primary school with enthusiastic and really enjoyable activities. Then we should have some movies, events, ads and concerts to raise awareness and promote these actions. We should also have extra taxes. One of the best ideas was we should have stickers which shows the carbon footprints of different products, also clothes, foods, and etc. We should also have international cooperation in, for example, transferring energy. There was an example. For example, we should transfer energy from Denmark to Poland. Then there is an European development program, and our suggestion was that small companies should with this problem as well. then we should have put more effort, money, and energy in research and development. Then, for everything to be clear and work well, we should have engaged individuals and also cooperation within the EU. We suggested that every country should take their time because we don't really want another crisis. And we also suggested to change the call system.
Statement 1 is that we should forbid Nazism and Nazi groups and their influence in the EU, as the groups are still active in the European Union and do form a threat to the European security. Furthermore, we have a second statement that says that we should collect less private data. There should be a balance between security and privacy. Solutions should be on an EU level. Our third statement is that the government needs to inform their citizens how they're being watched. This is in relation to the mass surveillance. Statement 4 is that abortion should be legal in the EU. And our last statement is that gender equality in all countries should be encouraged. Because when bosses are looking for example, when bosses are looking for people to work for them, they should look if they're suitable for the job and not look at the gender, because the skills matter more than the gender. Women should not get the job just because they're a minority, but they should prove themselves that they're suitable for the job.
We talked about a cultural app, so that would be a worldwide app that everybody could have. It would be an app where the information about cultural heritage and information about cities and everything could be displayed separately. People could join it and even talk about it if they are from that location. They can talk about it, post something, and we would have a big pin-up board where people can ask questions and advertise their ideas, and at the end learn something new by every day chatting on it and learning what they want. Also, cultural promotion on media, maybe an idea that would on TV advertisement, maybe a commercial or a special program that would discuss cultural heritage, information, new information, what we need to protect, something critical that is currently happening, and that would be in Europe or worldwide very important, so that everybody is following it and everybody knows how important it is.
So I want to start by making sure that the Europe will stay green in the future. As we all know, the planet suffocates underneath the garbages, so we need to protect the environment by recycling it a lot, because we are running out of prime materials. Also, we can start from the little ones since kindergarten by starting programs in school, or higher punishments for exceeding some limits of NOxes. We can all agree that once British gets out of EU, our economical power has dropped down, so we may add some new countries to the European, but we have to be selective, because we can't just add randomly. We have to be sure that all countries that get inside our union will be respecting our rules and will respect the human itself. The future means technology, and even the AI is here, so we have to invest in technology, because programs in schools, and this is a high-running domain.
I will now speak about the process of integration. We considered the major factor of education in relation to this. Education is the cornerstone for principles such as tolerance and acceptance. And we considered the two groups involved in migration and integration. That is, the natives of the country to which the migrants are coming and the countries or the people representing the countries to which these people travel. What I mean by this is, there are two parties involved, us accepting the migrants and the migrants themselves. And each of us have an equal say in how this should be treated. It is therefore that we discussed the idea of education. We have decided to consider targeting areas of languages in particular, because we have acknowledged that this is a huge barrier for people traveling from one country to another, and that having a certain standard of the language, that is, ability to pass a TOEFL exam, for example, will enable migrants to get jobs and ability to socialize and integrate more into the community. We've also talked about educating them on the culture of the country. This is very important to understand certain cultural aspects that they may not be aware of, but that will help them and aid them in the process into integrating and becoming a member of the community as we are. But it is not just the migrants that need to be informed, and I must stress this because it is a mutual affair. The citizens of the countries themselves have a duty to realise that they need to be acceptant and tolerant, and it is therefore that we have stressed the importance of education in terms of the smallest children all the way up to adulthood. It has been a great pleasure to present this to you, and I hope that while we have dealt with such a personal topic, we have done so accurately, eloquently, and above all with consideration for a wide variety of backgrounds we have here today. Migration and integration is one of the most complex issues of our time, and we hope that Europe will play a role fitting equally. Thank you.
Low-skilled youth and youth living in disadvantaged areas are more vulnerable to youth unemployment than their well-educated counterparts, and often fall into structural employment. In the Committee on Youth Employment today, we had decided to split our topic into 3 key areas: social security, training and education, and private companies' involvement. Our first motion was discussing scholarships, both from the private and public sector. We decided to promote the Erasmus Plus project in order to have a taste of different curriculums in different European countries. Moreover, we discussed financial help to young people and volunteer work in order for less wealthy students to be able to afford higher education. And lastly, we discussed workshops with companies which could lead to internships in order for more work experience. Thank you.